Thank you all for joining us today. My name is Bruce Evans, and I'm the chairman of Vanderbilt University's Board of Trust. I particularly want to thank you for joining us during the difficult time for our country and our community. We are continuing to deal with an ongoing pandemic while also grappling with very painful acts of racial injustice. For all of us on this call today, Vanderbilt is what unites us, and I hope the university can be a source of comfort and a place where we can find solitude and support amidst turmoil. Today, you will hear from Vanderbilt's 9th Chancellor, Daniel Diermeier, who will officially step into the role in just a few weeks on July 1st. I had the pleasure of meeting Daniel early in the Chancellor search process and was immediately impressed. He not only has incredible experience, but he believes in the power of education and in the critical role of universities like Vanderbilt in moving society forward today more than ever. Throughout his career, he has proven his ability to work across disciplines and institutions to bring diverse people and ideas together as forces of good. I encourage you to read Daniel's full biography, which is available on the Chancellor Transition website at vu.edu/chancellor-transition. Now I would like to turn it over to Veer Shah, the 2021 president of the Vanderbilt Student Government. Veer is a senior majoring in economics and in human and organizational development, and he served as student government vice president during the past academic year. Veer, thank you for taking part in this conversation today and for all that you do for Vanderbilt. Veer, you're on mute.
Sorry, I apologize. Thank you, Chairman Evans, for that introduction. And thank you to the many students, parents, and family members, as well as any others who have joined us here today. I know it's been a difficult week for many students as we navigate our own feelings and responses to the racial injustices and police brutality that have plagued our country for years. It weighs heavily on me, and I'm grateful to all of you who have committed to making our campus, our community, and our society a better place. Similar to what incoming Chancellor Diermeier said in his video last week, I have faith that we are entering a time of change in response to the pandemic and to the injustices happening to so many in our society. Incoming Chancellor Diermeier, I first want to give you a chance to say a few words as we begin.
Well, thank you, Veer, and thank you, Bruce, for the kind introduction. It's a great pleasure to be with you today, and it's an even bigger pleasure to assume responsibilities as Chancellor for Vanderbilt University July 1st. These are difficult times, and I'm particularly glad that we could come together today to talk about what's in the future for Vanderbilt, but also to reflect a little bit on the situation that we're in. I think we're all still in shock from the horrendous images of the killing of George Floyd. Then, of course, we saw the protests, we saw the riots. Nashville itself has been hit, as many of you know. I'm still like back and forth between Nashville and Chicago, and literally like 3 blocks from my house, there are a couple of stores were broken in, and we had police there, and it's a very difficult time. The suffering that I think many of us are going through, of course, most importantly, members of the African American community, is something that we're dealing with, that we need to connect with. And I think that's an example where universities can really play a very important role. This is going to be true with respect to how we think about racism, how we think about social issues, how we think about injustice, and all the challenges that our societies face. It's also true when you think about on the medical and on the policy side, how we deal with the COVID-19 crisis. Vanderbilt University Medical Center, the medical school faculty, the basic scientists, the engineers, our students have all already started a sustained and impressive effort to find solutions and treatments and diagnostics that will help us to deal with what arguably is the biggest challenge that this country is facing since the Second World War. So these are difficult times, but it's exactly in those times when universities can play a very important role, and when their value is particularly obvious, because those are the places where we can look at the causes, the conditions, and the complexities of the various problems that we have to deal in society at a given time, whether these are scientific problems or medical problems or social or political problems. It's the place where we can examine the complexities, where we can discuss, debate, where we can learn about it, where we can have a community of students and scholars that can figure out solutions to these challenges and make a lasting contribution to improve society and mankind more generally. I want to say one thing that's on the practical side, but I know that's front and center for all of you, what's going to happen in the fall. As interim chancellor and Provost Venti had announced a few weeks ago, we will be making an announcement and a decision in June. We decided, because we've been far enough along, to accelerate this a little bit. So we will discuss a detailed plan in about a week or so. The team has worked diligently. I've been extremely impressed by how they have handled the complexities over the last 2.5 months. They exhibited everything that is great about Vanderbilt: a dedication, a sense of working together, a collaborative spirit. And I think we have as good a plan as any of our peer universities as we move forward into the fall. I know that this is difficult because there's a lot of uncertainty and we want to have answers, but I want to make sure that we have all the details tied up, that we're ready, and then we make the announcement and talk to you about what's going to happen in the fall.
Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing that with us. As we move into the questions, I'm hoping you can start by telling us about your personal and professional background and what led you to this career based in higher education.
Oh, that's certainly. So as you can tell from my accent, I was not born in this country. I was born originally in Berlin, the divided city. I was fortunate enough to be born in West Berlin. So my family had the ability to travel and go to other parts of Europe. But the experience of growing up in a divided city where the Cold War was literally going right through the city was had a profound impact on me. Education was also always something that I thrived on. I am the first in my family to graduate from high school. None of my family previously had graduated from high school or gone to university. So I'm a first generation student. I was interested in everything, from history to physics to Latin, and couldn't decide, where I wanted to major for a while. But then fell in love with philosophy. Became a philosophy major originally. Got a fellowship from the German government to study 1 year at the University of Southern California. Was a graduate student there, PhD student. Then decided that philosophy was not for me, and slowly moved into the fields of political science, game theory, and subsequently management. My first appointment was at the Stanford Graduate School of Business. Then I was hired by Northwestern to build a program at the Kellogg School. And then I got interested in administration and leadership. This was always something I had an interest in, but I was recruited to be the dean of the Harris School of Public Policy, which I did for 2 years. Then I was appointed provost. And I know from personal experiences that the provost is always the mystery position in the university. Everybody knows who the chancellor is, everybody knows who the dean is, but who's the provost? Well, the provost has responsibility for everything academic. At Chicago, I also had responsibility for the budget. So it was a very large responsibility. And then we had Bruce and the committee had our first meeting, and I was extremely impressed by my first conversation with Vanderbilt, and thought this was exactly the right opportunity for me, and that I could make a contribution, given my background, to write the next chapter in Vanderbilt's illustrious history.
Thank you. So you just went into this briefly, but can you tell us a little bit more about what drew you to Vanderbilt?
Yes. So I had, as part of my academic interests and my academic work, been connected with Vanderbilt already. So I had heard about the political science department, the law school. I had heard about Owen. So I kind of had an eye on that. I knew what was going on in my specific field. During my time in the leadership at the University of Chicago, I also had become aware of the tremendous progress and the dynamism that had characterized Vanderbilt, I would say, especially the last 10 to 15 years, where I would say that Vanderbilt had been one of the universities nationwide that had made the most progress of anyone at any level. And so I was intrigued. I was curious. I wanted to learn more. And I was really struck by the culture, I think, by the sense of purpose, the sense of values that were evident in every interaction that I had. The sense of collaboration, collegiality, of working together for a common purpose was front and center from the very first discussion to literally the discussions I've had today. And I could see that the combination of this clear sense of what makes Vanderbilt special, its values, its cultures, and the great potential, thanks to the great work that my predecessors, especially Chancellor Zeppos and Interim Chancellor Susan Venti, had put together, which puts us in a great position to write the next chapter.
Thank you. So as you've talked about this next chapter, for yourself, what do you believe are the most exciting parts about being particularly a Vanderbilt student in this moment of history?
This is calling it a moment of history, I think, is exactly right. And when we have moments like that, humanity, not always, but often steps up and shines. And I think we are all called to do the same thing. So we can have different points of view on that. We can be afraid about the situation. We can be depressed about it, or we can step up and take on that challenge. And I think that our students and the education that we provide for them prepares them perfectly to step up to the challenge and make this their proudest moment. This is an environment which will be challenging, has been challenging, and will continue to be challenging. And it requires young leaders to accept those responsibilities and bring to bear both the academic and analytical skills, but also the leadership skills that they have developed during their time at Vanderbilt. And it's very important for us that we never forget that on the one hand, we have to deal with the specific challenges of this day, and they are many, and unfortunately they seem to be growing by the day, but also keeping in mind that yes, while these challenges are difficult and serious, we will prevail, we will get through this, and we will get through this stronger. And for that, it requires a mindset for the leadership of Vanderbilt, the faculty, the board, but also especially the students to take on this charge, to take on these responsibilities and make a contribution in whatever field they choose.
Thank you for that. And just to touch upon what you just said about challenges and the things that are going on with our university in this upcoming year, what do you see as the biggest opportunities and challenges for both Vanderbilt in both the near term and the long term?
In the near term, the biggest challenge will be how do we deal with the COVID-19 pandemic? That's going to be that's a serious challenge because it affects deeply how we think about our model of education. We're deeply committed at Vanderbilt to a residential model of education. Obviously, the residential colleges are at the heart of that. And I think we have seen through the last 3 months how valuable that is, how passionate we are about that. I was heartbroken to see that especially our seniors could not spend the last month together with their friends, and that dreams had to be postponed, that they had to be put on hold. And those are challenges that will be with us for the next month, maybe the next year. We'll solve them. We'll get through that, but it requires from everyone, from the leadership of the university, faculty, staff, and the students, is to make their contribution, to step up and to accept that challenge and to do the best that we can and to do it together as a community united, united in a common purpose and grounded in a common set of values and a point of view of what a great and transformative education is all about. So these will be trying times for not just Vanderbilt, but any university. But I think that if we take it on in that spirit, committed to a purpose, committed to what makes a great education special, and grounded in the values and the culture that unite us, that we can make this our proudest moment.
And thank you for that, incoming Chancellor Diermeier. I have enjoyed this conversation with you, and I hope everyone else has and tuning in today as well. Before we conclude, is there anything else you'd like to add or say to the Vanderbilt community?
Well, I want to thank you all for your support. This is a difficult time, and it is a time where if we pull together, if we remember what is it that are the common values that makes Vanderbilt education unique, that we can get through this stronger. So I appreciate your support. I know that this has been difficult, and I know that it's very difficult to deal with the uncertainty and the changes, but the team and the leadership of the university has been working diligently on that. I have been, as I said before, very impressed by how we pulled together as a group in a spirit of collaboration, embodying the best that One Vanderbilt stands for.
Thank you.
Well, let me just, no more questions, Veer?
Yes, you can hand it back to you now.
Great, thank you very much. So thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Veer, for your comments and questions today. I wanted to let everybody on this call know that a recording of today's conversation will be posted online at the Chancellor Transition website. And you can look forward to hearing more from our incoming Chancellor in the lead up to July 1. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to be on today's call. We really appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.